Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Sisters of the Strange. I'm Shae.
I'm Landrey.
And we're back with another episode of Creepy Coolness.
Little spookies?
Yeah. We were chatting before we started recording kind of about some more ghost stories, but we don't want to add too many too fast.
Yeah.
So I think that it would be a good idea if we take our personal stories, and possibly we may do some mini episodes or on our Patreon, have some exclusive stuff. If you like the ghost stuff, we will go more into detail about how our childhood was a little spooky.
Yeah, really creepy.
Thanks for coming back and listening. You guys are giving us so much support. It's kind of overwhelming so far. But
yeah, honestly, we had, I think, over 100 views on our very first episode in one day.
Yeah, that's incredible. So thanks, guys.
Insane.
We couldn't do this without you, obviously.
Yeah, I was fully expecting to have 10.
We doing it, sis.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to have 10 and I need to be happy with that. And then I just constantly, I was at Landon's football game, just checking.
Mm-hmm. Refresh.
Yes. Aaron was like, get off your phone and watch the game. And I was like, I'm busy, buddy.
So yeah, we're having a really good time doing this. We don't really have a lot of housekeeping for this episode, just the same things. Our social medias are there. We want to hear from you. And we're going to dive into some creepy, deep stuff today. So, okay. So here we go. Nightmare fuel.
Okay. So this week, we are exploring a phenomenon that has intrigued and terrified people across cultures and centuries. Sleep paralysis. I started the research for this episode and it's brought back a lot of really horrible memories for me because I've had a lot of sleep paralysis.
Oh.
Yeah, I have some of my own stories in here because I've had it quite a lot and I don't like it. And so it's actually made me have a hard time sleeping to where this last week, I collectively have slept 2-hour increments at a time.
Yeah. 1,
I've been busy. 2, Aaron kind of started going out of town again and I got so comfortable with him being home. And so then him being gone, I lay in bed and I'm like, oh, at everything. I hear a noise and I normally sleep with my back to the door. And currently I cannot do that.
So this is just really helping the situation.
Yes. I'm like, okay, so what are the odds we start a haunted podcast the week that my husband decides to go back out of town?
Coincidence?
No. At least now we took custody of his nephew. So I at least have another male in the home.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just as scared as I am. So I actually had to comfort him the other day. Did I tell you that?
Yes.
Yeah. I had to comfort him. But then I'm working on another episode, getting it ready. 2 a.m. in my office, trying to just knock it out.
Spooked out.
And then I'm paranoid because this child told me he hears someone walking around our house and knocking on his window.
Kids, man.
And so then now I was I told him to sleep with his bedroom door open. So at least his door was open and we're on the same hallway. So he brought me comfort as well. But it was 2 a.m. and I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. I don't even want to go to bed. I was tired and I was like, I'm not even ready for bed because I don't think I can handle bed right now.
I have to shut my mind off.
Yeah. It's just not going to work. So anyways, we're talking about sleep paralysis.
Woo.
So have you ever found yourself awake but unable to move, feeling a heavy pressure on your chest, or even seeing shadowy figures lurk in your bedroom? You're not alone.
Ugh.
This is the unsettling experience known as sleep paralysis, and in this episode, we'll uncover what it is, how it has influenced cultures worldwide, and some stories from others who have experienced this phenomenon. So, sleep paralysis is defined as a temporary inability to move or speak while falling asleep or waking up. Essentially, it's a disconnect between the mind and body during the transitions between wakefulness and sleep. A little bit of the science behind this is that during REM sleep, which is, I think, rapid eye movement, our brains are active and help us to dream vividly, but our bodies are essentially paralyzed to prevent us from acting out these dreams. Sleep paralysis occurs when the brain wakes up from the REM sleep, but the body remains in that paralyzed state. This can last a few seconds to a couple of minutes, creating a terrifying experience. So sleep paralysis may also include hallucinations, like feeling an intruder in the room, the presence of an incubus, or the sensation of floating. So, Shae, have you ever experienced any of these things?
No, never. I'm a great sleeper.
Oh my goodness, you're blessed.
Yeah. The only thing I would think that would be a disconnect is when you're falling asleep and you feel like you're falling and you...
Yeah. Have you ever heard when you're falling asleep, have you ever heard knocks and stuff like that?
Mm-mm.
That is also, it's called, I think exploding head syndrome or something like that. There is actually...
Whoa.
Because I'll do that to myself. I'll start to fall asleep and then I'll feel like I hear something in my room, a knock in my room or a door closing or my doorbell ringing, things like that. And it wakes me back up.
If this starts happening to me, I'm coming for you.
Okay.
Well, sleep is sacred to me. I'm sorry.
Well, you're lucky that you haven't experienced this because 1 in 5 people experience sleep paralysis, which is quite a few people.
Yeah.
So I wanted to dig deeper into understanding the belief in sleep paralysis amongst other countries to better understand some people's personal stories. When you Google sleep paralysis here in the United States, it just gives you medical information, like technical things. It doesn't really give you, it kind of gives you like paranormal things. But like I said, how I laid it out, what is sleep paralysis? That's exactly what it gives you. It says like the inability to move while you're falling asleep and gives a scientific thing.
Yeah.
Rather than paranormal. But when you look into sleep paralysis in other countries, it's almost always attributed to some other like worldly force. Okay, so in Nigeria, sleep paralysis is often associated with witchcraft or spiritual attacks. This belief is deeply rooted in the local folklore and is sometimes seen as punishment or a sign of spiritual vulnerability. As a result, traditional healers may be consulted to ward off these spirits and protect individuals from future episodes. In Scandinavian folklore, sleep paralysis is attributed to a creature known as the Mara. The Mara is said to be a malicious spirit or a nightmare-inducing entity that sits on a person's chest, causing suffocation or paralysis. This belief aligns with the common sensation of pressure on the chest experienced during episodes of sleep paralysis. The term nightmare is actually derived from this folklore. Somewhere in there, when you look in further research, nightmare is based off of some sort of horse creature, which is kind of like the Mara. Sometimes people say she has like a horse face. And so they were having night terrors about a mare. So nightmares.
Oh,
from some of the research that I found.
Interesting.
In Brazil, sleep paralysis is linked to the legend of the pisadeira, an old woman who appears at night to trample on the chest of those who sleep on their backs with a full stomach.
Madam, mind your business.
Yeah, if I want to have a full stomach when I go to sleep, let me. This folklore reflects cultural values concerning sleep hygiene and the importance of not overeating before bed. The pisadeira is often depicted as a frightening figure, adding a supernatural layer to this common sleep disorder.
Which culture is that?
In Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. All of this stuff is very much the same, except for the United States.
Yes.
Well, on par.
Yeah. Genuinely.
Continue.
So these diverse cultural interpretations of sleep paralysis illustrate the intersection of science, folklore, and cultural beliefs. While the scientific explanation remains consistent across societies, the cultural narratives provide a rich tapestry that enhance our understanding of this mysterious experience. Okay. So I'm going to go into some of my personal stories about this. So in college, I lived with two of my roommates. It was like a 1940s home. We moved in after a man who had lived there moved out. We don't really know where like he went. He left a lot of his things there, but he didn't pass away. I think he maybe just went to like an assisted living home or something like that. He was older, but he left his couches. He left some bedroom furniture. He had a box that just had dolls in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So once we moved in, we put his bed and his mattress on the curb and but we just moved the couches to the garage. We were like, oh, we'll just make a hangout in the garage. Yeah. So we had a hangout in the garage and that was what that was. But I lived in Lubbock alone for the most part that summer. And I would like lock myself in my room. I had a door code to get into my room. I would lock myself in my room because I hated that house being there alone so much.
Yeah.
To the point where one time I called Catholic priests around Lubbock and had the house blessed.
No, you did not.
I did.
Oh my God, I have chills.
Yeah, I got the house blessed, which Tyler and Danza made fun of me to no end. Which I mean, it kind of made the noises outside of the home, like, because I would be in my room and you would think you would hear stuff like in the kitchen, which was on the opposite side of the house. You would think you would like kind of hear some like laughter movement throughout that side of the house. And once I got it cleansed, I didn't hear any of that anymore. But when the Catholic priest came and cleansed, I had a crucifix above my door and I had a Scentsy in my room. You know, they like let out light whenever you have them on. Little holes in random shapes and shit like that. Yeah. And I got the house blessed and then I rearranged my room. And so I moved that Scentsy. And when I moved it, whenever I turned it back on, it put a heart over the crucifix. Ooh. I have a picture of it. So I will share that.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I genuinely took a picture of it because I was like, what in the actual...
Oh my God, that's so freaky.
Yeah. So I had a lot of just like weird kind of things happen.
That's a good sign though.
It did make me feel a lot better, but it was still... I still had bad dreams in the house. Like I still had some creepy stuff, but I felt more comfortable being there alone. There was one time I was taking a nap. It was just one of the random days I was home. I would get home at like 2 and I wanted to go to sleep for a little bit because I normally didn't really sleep at night just because I wasn't very comfortable. And so I was taking a nap and I was sleeping on my back. And like I said, my room was across the house. Like I was in the furthest corner of the home. I was at the very end of the hallway, away from the garage, the front door. Like I was at the very opposite end of the home and I was asleep on my back and I felt like I was awake. I thought I was awake. That's what happens. You think you're awake and you're not. But I thought I was awake. Clearly I was not. And I heard like the front door open and close. And then you could hear, it was a tile hallway. So I heard like, it sounded like cowboy boots, honestly. Like it sounded like boots walking down the hallway. And then you could hear the change from, you know how you walk from like tile to carpet and you hear the change onto the carpet of the walking, the way the texture changes.
Yeah.
And then how you can hear like jeans when you're walking, you hear jeans rubbing together. I heard that. And my bed, how I was laying, my door was to the left of me, but I didn't see anything walk in the room, but I heard it walk in the room. And I could hear like jeans, you know, the movement across my carpet. It went around my bed. It didn't just walk up to my left side. It went around my bed to where it would be on my right side where the bed was empty on that side. And I felt like the bed dip. And I remember grabbing for a face. I said, normally you can't move, but I was moving. I grabbed for this face and I felt like a beard. And I remember feeling a beard and saying, who are you? And then the doorbell rang in real life and I woke up and I was like, what the fuck? And
Did
so
you remember what happened?
Yes. Because I woke up
obviously.
I woke up and felt like, what the fuck was that? Like, I thought someone was just here just now. So why is the doorbell ringing?
Oh my God. I have so many chills all over my entire body.
So I got up. Like, I didn't let it, like, it didn't faze me too bad because I was like, that was scary. But like, who's at the front door?
Yeah.
And so I went and opened the front door and there's no one there.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, cool. And so I was at the front door and then I hear someone knock on the garage door. And so I went to the garage door and the garage is closed.
Stop.
And I was like, I don't really like that. So I sat down on the couch. And from the couch, I could see the hallway to where the front door goes. And then the garage door was just right there. And then I heard something like fall over in the garage. And I was like, I'm going to go investigate because there's clearly someone in this house. Like something's wrong. And so I had my phone on 911, like just walked into the garage. Nothing askew. Nothing's wrong.
Oh my God.
So I think that actually probably happened before I got the house blessed because my bed was in a different location. I would have been blessed and then I rearranged because my Scentsy how it got moved.
So this was all beforehand.
Yes. It's
That
what
is
finally
so
led up to me getting the house blessed
freaky.
because
That's too much.
yes.
So you were asleep, you grabbed the beard, the doorbell rang and you woke up.
yes, I woke up in real life, but I thought I was awake the whole time that I was going through this.
Yeah.
And normally you can't move. My other experiences, I can't move. And sometimes I have sleep paralysis where nothing is going on around me, but my eyes are like rolling back in my head. So you still see stuff around you.
Yeah.
But there's not normally things there at that point. Like at that moment.
Like when you're aware that that's happening and you're like, oh, I need to wake myself up.
Yes, there's times where I'm like, okay, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I will wake myself up. But yeah, so that house was very creepy. I think that was the only sleep paralysis episode I had in that house. That had to have been most likely like June, July, because school started in August. So then my roommates would have been there in August. I got the house blessed before they even moved in.
Oh.
So like all of these things happened. A few other really creepy things happened. Got the house blessed. They moved in. Everything was pretty good after that. But I still was so scared of that house that I would not stay there alone after that.
Yeah.
Like if they were gone, I found somewhere else to be too.
Yeah.
So then I had to come home. I didn't have to come home. I had to do a internship as part of my college curriculum. And in Lubbock, there was only like one landscape architecture position and there was 30 of us trying to get it. So
yeah.
So I had to come home and do an internship at home. And that is actually how I met Aaron. I was at home and we started hanging out while I was here. And he worked out of town, but he was renting a massive house in Fort Worth. It was like 4-bedroom, 2 living room, a very big home. And so upstairs, he originally had a room upstairs and then there was a movie room upstairs and then there was an empty room upstairs. And when you came right up the stairs, there was a living room and then his room was if you just kept walking and then you turned left, it would have gone into his room. But as soon as you come up the stairs, if you went right, there was a hallway that had like a bathroom, a creepy ass room at the end of the hallway. And then the movie room was on that hallway as well. And the room at the very end of the hallway, the door literally was the end of the hallway, like the end cap. And I closed that door all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And then it would just be open again.
Oh.
But like cracked, not all the way open. And then it was always dark. So I hated that room. So there was one night that Aaron had to leave and go back to work like middle of the night because he had to be in Midland at 8 a.m. And so he would leave at like midnight, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like he would leave to where he could get to work just in time.
Yeah.
And I was asleep upstairs in his room. I was on the right side of the bed. So I was furthest away from the door. I was asleep on my back, thought I was awake. Black figure comes into the room, walks around the bed. I can't move. I can't scream. I can't do anything. I just am stuck laying on my back.
You're paralyzed.
Yes. And this black figure is like, it's no face, just a figure. Like you can't really actually see what's going on. You can just see it's a black figure coming around the bed. And it came around the bed and stood on the right side of me and like put its arms, but it wasn't like you couldn't like see hands or anything divine. It was pushing on my chest.
Yeah, you could feel it.
Yes, I felt like the push. I could see it. I was looking at it and it's just a black mass and I couldn't do anything. I finally got myself to wake up, promptly grabbed my work clothes, grabbed everything I needed to be ready for work, got in my car, drove to work, which was at least 45 minutes away, sat in the work parking lot until I had to be up because that was at like 3:34 in the morning.
Oh my God. Yeah. So you just like ran out the door.
Straight up. Because I was the only one there in that massive ass house. And so I left and went and sat literally in the work parking lot until I had to go in. And I think I slept a little bit in the car.
How did you wake yourself up?
I think just out of fear. Like, I think I just woke up and was like,
yeah. Oh my God.
Because normally when I'm scared like that, I will wake up.
Yeah.
And so my other story, this one I don't like at all. Like that one was pretty bad. This one's in the same house.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but Aaron moved downstairs. He took over the master and he was home for this one. We were asleep together, but he has to sleep on the right side of the bed or else he like punches you in his sleep with his right arm. So he has to be able to have his right arm hanging off the bed and like not on your side of the bed.
Okay.
Yes. I tried to test that theory one time and I woke up with like his hand in my face and I was like, yep.
So this is real. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I slept on the left side of the bed, which put me on the same side as the bathroom and the door.
That's a lot of doors.
And I don't like that.
Yeah.
I want to be furthest away.
Yeah. You never have liked that.
Nope. Never. Mm-mm. And so I was asleep on my side of the bed. I think we fell asleep with the TV on. He turns it off. He can't sleep with lights on. He can't sleep with any light on. I am a nightlight girly.
Yeah, me too.
I am a
forever and ever. Amen.
Yes. I am like a closet light on.
Yep.
Door cracked, something.
Yep.
Some sort of light. No light for him. He can't do it. So it's pitch black. I think I'm awake. I'm on my back. I'm looking around the room and the bathroom is directly beside the bed. So it's beside me. 5 figures walk out and they walk out and just start surrounding the bed. I am screaming, but I'm not screaming. Nothing's coming out. Can't move, but I have my mouth wide open like I am trying to scream. I wake up to Aaron waking me up. I was physically screaming. Like in real life, I was screaming. At this point, we've only been dating like 2 months. He's like, this bitch is crazy.
Oh my
Why
God.
she's screaming in the middle of the night
and not waking up.
Yes. So he woke me up, got me awake and he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, turn on all the lights. And he said, no. And I was like, I can't see the room. Turn on all of the lights. And so he did. He got up and turned the lights on and he was like, what just happened? And I told him and he was like, you're out of your mind. Like, you're crazy. And I was like, no, we're keeping the lights on.
Oh my God.
And so
you're like, you didn't
see those things?
No, but the fact that like, hello, you're screaming and he was probably trying to wake you up for a minute.
Yeah.
At least.
He was like, no, it's fine. Nothing's in here. And I was like, no, we're keeping the lights on, buddy. And we slept with the lights on after that.
Oh my God.
And then I still stayed in that house, but I rearranged the room where I didn't have to be by the bed anymore.
You know what's so funny?
I moved myself to the wall.
You rearranged rooms like nobody's business.
I would rearrange my room right now if I could, but there's no other option.
Oh my God.
I love rearranging.
Yes.
I rearrange my office quite often.
Yeah.
But I also do it until I feel right. And like in my home now,
it's like feng shui.
Yes. I feel right in my room right now.
Oh,
like
good.
I feel, and I've lived at this house for over a year and I feel good.
Good.
I still don't like my bathroom door being open, but little dog likes to sleep in the closet. So I can't like lock her out, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the third story.
Those are absolutely, I couldn't even imagine.
No, that one was probably the one that messed me up the most because I physically was screaming.
Yeah. And you didn't think you were. You thought nothing was coming out.
Yeah. I was trying and nothing. And then the first house we ever rented together, that house, lots of really bad vibes. But the thing that kind of weirded me out the most was that my great grandmother's best friend lived in that house when it was like a new home and her initials were LB and my initials are LB. And so that always just kind of weirded me out. But it also made me be like, oh, I have a friend here. Like I'm comforted by this, but I had nothing but bad about that house.
Which house was this?
When I lived on Ball Street.
Okay.
It was the very first home we rented together. So about 5 years ago, maybe 6 now. And Aaron worked out of town. It was me alone, which I already don't do well. And so this was kind of, I could maybe say it was because I was alone really for the first time in a while, you know, like because Aaron actually had to go to work and I didn't have an option. I didn't get to just be with like my mom or my roommates or anything like that. And even whenever I was in Lubbock, my last year, I did have my own apartment, but you're surrounded by people.
Yeah.
You're in an apartment. And I drove to Aaron all the time because he was like an hour away in Midland.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really at my apartment alone very often. And this house, the master bedroom, which they do say how you mentioned feng shui, they say not to have your feet facing the door. It's because of feng shui, corpses lay with their feet facing the door, something that has to do with that. It is a feng shui thing if you look that up. Yes. So they say not to do that. And that was basically the only way we could arrange our room because it was such a small room and we have a king suite set. And that house, I was asleep one night. I was on my side of the bed, which again, furthest away from the door. Thankfully, it was set up to where Aaron was on the right side of the bed and it was at the door. But our feet still face the door. And so I was laying on my side of the bed. So I'm on the left side of the bed and I'm asleep and I wake up and there's a little boy dressed in like paperboy outfit, like 1920s type outfit, the weird golf, you know, little hat, like Scottish hat.
Yep.
He's talking to me about like our yard. And I was like, I don't I don't know. Like I didn't say anything. I just remember him talking to me about the yard. And then all of a sudden his mom is behind him and she is very creepy looking. Her hair is in a bun on top of her head. She's wearing like the creepy older clothes as well, has like an apron on. And this is so stupid. It should not be scary, but she was talking to him about needing to clip his nails. Oh. And he was like, you're not going to fucking clip my nails. He didn't say it like that clearly, but he did not want his nails clipped. I remember. And then she just turned like this weird, like underglow, green light turns onto her, which makes her look extremely ominous. And he doesn't like that. He runs across my chest, like crawls across my chest off the bed, runs out the door. She does the same thing. But she's creepy looking now.
Why couldn't they just turn around and walk away?
Know. Why is he running from her? I don't know. He runs out the door. I woke up and turned all the lights on and watched Scooby-Doo until I had to go to work because no. Yeah. Last just creepy thing in that house, which I hate that this has turned into just Landry stories, but this is all my sleep paralysis stuff and it's really creepy.
And it's real.
Yes. It happened to me. It's genuinely like it makes I'm like sick to my stomach right now.
Yeah. I can see it in your face.
Yeah. I don't love it. So in that house, one of the things Aaron would do when he was home is I'd be like, hey, I just need you to lay with me. You don't have to, like, cause I was working, but when he's home, he doesn't have to work at all. So he's home for a whole week and can do whatever he wants to do. So he normally stays up later than me. So I'd be in bed alone a lot. But I would be like, hey, you have to lay with me until I fall asleep and then you can go do whatever you want to do in the living room. And again, I've had this dream I'm about to talk about. I had it 3 times. 2 times it was Aaron. 1 time it was my mom. I am laying in my bed. I am not in my body. I am looking down at my body. My body is shaking. My body is scared. Fetal position. And then I am in my body and I see Aaron walking down the hallway to our bedroom. Cause like I said, I'm facing like our feet face the door so I can see out the hallway. Yeah. Aaron is walking down and I'm like, hey, when did you get here? You're not supposed to be here. I didn't hear your truck because he drives a very loud diesel. Yeah. I didn't hear your truck. When did you get home? I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, hey, I'm here to comfort you. I just want to hold you for 5 minutes and then I'm going to go watch TV. He'd get in bed with me. He would hold me. I would stop shaking. And then he would go to the living room and then I would wake up in real life and go check the living room and he wouldn't be there. So that happened twice with him and once with my mom.
Ew. That's so
it was like something was scaring me, but then something new to comfort me.
Comfort you.
But I should have known something was wrong because whether it was my mom or whether it was Aaron, their eyes were like glowing, not glowing, like glowing angel blue, neon blue, husky eye blue.
Yeah. Like icy.
Yes. I should have known that something was wrong with that because that's not
their eye colors.
Their eyes. My mom's eyes are the color of shit and Aaron's eyes are green. Hey, my eyes are the color of shit too. So, but I should have known that was not right. And that should have really scared me, but it didn't. Whatever it was comforted me from being scared. So I hated that house. So those are just a few of my sleep paralysis stories to where now I do not sleep on my back because I know better. Because every time I've ever had sleep paralysis, I was asleep on my back, which is a very common theme.
Yes,
everyone who
I've
has
heard that.
Every story I've ever read, they are on their backs. So I just don't.
Oh my God, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm so spooked out right now.
Yeah, you're welcome for that. Okay, so
I hope my husband's awake when I go back inside. Hello?
It sounded like a moan, but it's just a vehicle.
Yep.
I thought we were supposed to be out in the woods where we can't hear anything. No vehicle noise. Good thing you don't have to drive. I'm going to be driving on these windy ass roads and be like, oh, what's going to jump out at me next?
Yeah, because something will jump out at you.
Yeah, there was one time Dan's and I were we were on our way home from Lubbock and we were listening to, it was called Real Ghost Stories Online, a podcast.
Smart.
Yep. And pitch black, we came home through Mineral Wells. Like we'd come home the back roads instead of just going down 20.
Horrible idea.
But it was just a way better drive. But yes, bad idea. So we're listening to scary stories, waiting for something to jump out. Skunk jumps out, runs across the street. We lose it. Swerve. We're jumping up and down in the car. We're screaming. And then we're laughing because we're like, what idiots. Yeah. Because we were both so tense. Yeah. I'm driving. And then I see it. Yeah. Swerve. And we're screaming and it's chaos.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then I
can just see it.
Listened to creepy shit after that. We just kept on with it.
Of course. You got to finish the story.
Yep. Got to get through it.
Yeah. So got to see it through, my boy.
Yeah. We started this, but it was like our bonding time. 4 hours of scary stories there and 4 hours of scary stories on the way home. So I have a couple of other people's stories because if mine aren't scary enough, why not add somebody else's in?
Yeah. Are any of them, before you start, any of them like similar to yours?
I feel like it's all asleep on your back.
Okay.
But the weird thing for me is a lot of people can't move at all. And some of mine, I can't move at all. Like the black figures, I couldn't move. But when I grabbed that guy's face, I could feel that. Yeah. And so that was weird to me that I was able to move then. And I don't even really remember trying to move when it was the mom and son running over me. I know my head was turned to look at him. And I know that they ran across my chest and I woke up immediately after. Like that sent me, sitting up in bed. Yeah. So I don't know. This one is kind of like how he feels like it might have been something that happened in real life.
Okay.
Rather than him just thinking it was in his sleep, like a figment of his imagination. He feels like this one has proof.
Oh, okay.
So this one, it is a Reddit story, so I will tag the story link.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a small scar directly above my right eyebrow. It's not noticeable anymore, but when I was younger, people always asked me about it. I was inspired to write this when I told the story to my girlfriend, and she pointed out something strange with how I remembered it. As a kid, I had a series of dreams from when I was 6 to 8 years old. I would get in bed, and sometime after midnight, I would wake up. I remember it being strange because I didn't wake up for a specific reason. I was just awake. After a few minutes, a bright white light would appear outside. It wasn't like daylight or artificial light. It was a brighter, pure white light. It didn't hurt my eyes. I could look right into it. I think this is one of the reasons I always assumed it was a dream. I never moved in these experiences either. I would just sit under my covers and watch. After the light came a shadow, moving towards my window. It would stand there for a moment, completely motionless, casting a strange silhouette on my wall. After this, it would push its hands against my window. The glass would seem to vanish as the being slipped into my room. It would always stand in the corner next to my bookshelf. It had a tall, thin body, having to crane its neck forward as it stood in my corner, watching me. Its body had no discernible joints, making it move and appear like it was made of wire. Its movements were slow and deliberate, almost stiff. After a while, I would just fall back asleep. I remember I was never really scared of it. They didn't do anything scary, and they almost felt familiar. I think as a kid, I just assumed this was a normal thing, and since I was never hurt or startled in any way, it came off as mundane or uninteresting. The same as if my dad were to open the door and check on me while I was praying. Or playing.
Okay, that's creepy.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable by things standing in my corner at nighttime, especially not as a kid.
No.
I remember that as a kid, whenever I would want to go from my room to my mom's room, I don't know why, but I always thought there was an army man asleep on our couch.
What?
And so I would be scared to walk to my mom's room, so I'd go to Murphy or Caden's room.
Yeah, because they were right there. Okay. Moving on.
I'm like, so I'm not comfortable seeing some random ass shit going on in my house. Clearly, I'm getting that shit blessed. Let me call the Catholic priest real quick. So the last time I was ever visited, everything happened like normal. Not that any of this could be considered normal, but I do remember feeling scared. As the being approached, he looked more sinister than usual. Looming over me, the face of this being, they had very large round eyes that almost protruded from their head. The eyes were a pure glowing white, dotted with tiny black specks, almost like a cue ball. The rest of the face was all mouth. In lieu of teeth, they had a large forest of baleen, appearing as a gaping maw with millions of hair teeth.
That's, like a whale's mouth?
Yes.
That looks like they have like brushes for teeth. That's baleen. That's what their teeth are called.
Gross. That makes my teeth.
It's like it's like a filter.
Yeah, this makes my teeth feel like I'm rubbing it on a chalkboard right now. I hate teeth.
Ew.
Teeth make me gross.
That's freaky.
Yeah. So the general shape and the layout of the face was similar to an owl. I should point out that no noise was ever made during these experiences. It made no sounds as it walked in the room. It was normally silent. Tonight was different. Have you ever heard that bulge sound that elks make? We see them up here during what?
I said,
Oh yeah, because you went to Montana. Where'd you go? We see them up here during rut, and it's a very interesting sound. Imagine that, but slightly smoother, shifting between all different tones and a rhythmic pattern. This was the sound the creature made, but it wasn't loud. It was as if the sound were fake or played from a speaker right next to my head. I couldn't feel the sound, if that makes sense, like I imagined it or something. Without coming closer, the being extended a large branched arm. The arm made it 3/4 of the way across my room, and the rest of that distance was covered when it unfurled the long fingers of its previously clenched fist. The index finger, the longest of what was possibly 10 to 12 fingers, slowly came closer to my face. On the tip, I could see balanced what looked like a small, iridescent piece of glass, rainbow light shimmering across its surface. I remember it reminding me of my mother's engagement ring. I couldn't move out of fear as the rest of the fingers gently gripped my face. They felt light and airy, as if they were barely there. It felt more like a force than a physical touch. The finger with the glass pressed onto my forehead softly, and I remember a burning pain. I can't recall if I had winced in pain at the time, but remembering it now, I cringed thinking about it. There was no blood. Why did I say blood like that? There was no blood. I remember touching the spot after and it feeling hot and tender like a burn. The bulge still droned on through this process, and I began to almost understand it. Suddenly, I could... bugle. The bugle is the sound of an elk.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't say that right earlier, I don't think. I remember touching the spot after and it feeling hot and tender like a burn. The bugle still droned on through this process, and I began to almost understand it. Suddenly, I could hear the words and the tones, but they didn't make sense. There were hundreds of words, and as a small child, I couldn't understand any of them. This guy says some weird shit right here. Azoic, suppuration, ichor, irrevocable, derelict, forswear, reverie are a few I remember. There was no series, just single words, hundreds of them. Then like nothing had happened, the being left. My parents didn't believe my story about the small scar. They told me it was a dream and I was hesitant to believe them. It became a fear of mine to see that again. Over time, however, I dismissed it as a dream and mostly forgot about it until this incident. Until I was about 14 and I learned about sleep paralysis and the strange visions people have. That was it for me. I had my explanation and it satisfied me for years. I recently told this story to my girlfriend and she pointed out that in sleep paralysis dreams, figures normally do not move. They usually just stay still or hold you down, but they don't touch you like that. I found this information alarming and decided to post my story here while I search for answers and related experiences. See, I feel like that rainbow light thing is almost like opal. You know, the gemstone opal?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it makes me think of. Or the dragon tails, but that's an opal as well.
Yeah, it is.
So.
That's just freaky.
I don't like hands on a glass and then the figure just moving through your window. I'm like, oh, window's there for a reason.
And this tall, like lanky.
It's just like unfolding in the corner of your room.
Oh.
You're going to have so much fun when you lay in the dark tonight.
I sleep with my TV on full.
I do too, until Aaron turns it off. He had a shirt hanging.
Oh, yes.
In the corner of our room. And I woke up one night and was going to the bathroom and about lost it.
You sent me a photo of it. It did look like a person standing on.
I think I still kept a picture of it because I was like, I'm going to talk about this on the podcast one day and I've got to have proof for what these people need. And I'm too short to take it down. I can't reach it. And I asked him, I said, take it down. I'm pretty sure it's still there.
It's stuck there.
I tried to ignore it.
So something that I thought about while listening to this, do you remember, this might be like a personal experience. I don't know. But whenever we were like teenagers, like maybe like 13, 14, we were on Tumblr, you know, here and there, and like Twitter, and there was like a viral thing that was like going around where people were lucid dreaming.
Yes.
Or trying to like make themselves go into a lucid dream. That's what, those aren't the same thing. Sleep paralysis and lucid dreaming are not the same thing.
No, but I feel like they have a lot of the same cues.
There's a similar like
pattern.
Yeah. I remember so hard trying to make myself lucid dream because the way people made it sound, I was like, oh, it's so cool. Like you can be in your dream and like see yourself and like control what's going on. But like,
I'm good.
Yeah. Thinking about that now, I'm like, what the hell was I? Why was I trying to do that?
Especially the houses we lived in.
Yes. Hello.
You were asking for it.
Yes. That was so stupid.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been talking forever because I've been so enthralled in these stories.
Okay. This one's really long. So, I mean,
we're having to get comfortable for this story. Apparently it's a long one.
Yeah. This one.
And I'm nervous.
This one took me from 4 pages to like 19.
Oh my
Not
God.
really, but it is long. Okay. So this one is also a Reddit story. I will also link it. I give credit where credit is due. I will never take anyone's story and act like it's my own. So I will link it. It'll be in the show notes and just wherever it's posted, it will be there. So my first memory of sleep paralysis happened when I was just 10 years old. I remember because it was the night my parents took me to see Shrek 2 for getting good grade marks on my report card. It was an evening show, so we got in late and my mom took me straight into bed when we got home. It was around 4 a.m. when I woke up. The light from my alarm clock told me that much. I couldn't feel anything, not my pajamas against my skin or the warmth of my head against the pillow. I could feel my arms and legs, but they felt heavy, as if a great weight was holding them down. I tried to call out, but I couldn't. My voice caught in my throat, my lips unable to move. I mustered a weak groan, and that sounded like a cross between a frog's croak and a zombie's moan. But that was it. I thought I was dead, that this was what death felt like, being awake but unable to move or tell anyone. My mind wrestled with the idea of being placed in a coffin, unable to tell anyone I was still alive in here, unable to move or say anything as the lid closed and they put me in the ground, still alive. My fear subsided as I felt my heart thudding in my chest in response to my near panic attack. I also became aware of my breathing, which slowed as the fear subsided. I calmed a little, thinking it was just a dream. That was when I saw him for the first time, Mr. Brownstick Legs. Quite the name.
Yeah.
He huddled in the corner of my room by a closet, which is very similar to the last story. His two oversized red eyes glowed in the dark of my bedroom. His face was like a porcelain mask, white, expressionless, with no mouth or nose, and just two haunting red eyes.
I don't like this.
You're going to have a really good time when you lay down.
Landry, I have a reoccurring dream that I've had since I was a child.
Of something like this? So maybe you do have a little bit of sleep paralysis.
Just continue with the story.
Okay, but if
because
this
it's
is
freaking me out.
If this is you, if this matches up a lot, I'm really going to feel sorry for you. So you can come home with me. You can come home with me and sleep with me in my blessed home.
I have to walk 50 feet from here to my house and I'm scared.
Well, I have to walk half that, so I'll at least walk you halfway.
Okay, bet.
Okay, so when he stood up, his body unfolded like origami until his head reached the ceiling. His neck bent, tilting forward as his true height was greater than the height of my room. His long black torso was covered in shimmering symbols that reflected red in the light of his glowing eyes. He stood on two splendidly thin legs that disappeared into the shadows of the room. Stop. Does yours look like that too? Stop. Stop. You're giving me
I'm so serious. I'm so
You're
serious.
making my eyes water.
I'm going to cry.
Stop it. You're literally making my eyes are watering and I have chills all over my whole body. You need to stop doing that. Do you have chills? I'm fucking covered.
This is freaky. Okay.
I'm like, that made my face chill up.
I'm going to throw up.
Okay, stop. My eyes are watering right now.
Let's just get through this.
Fuck, this episode turned out really bad.
That's crazy. I haven't had this dream in a really long time.
There's symbols and everything on the body.
Mm-hmm. Like this figure sounds excruciatingly similar to the one that I have.
Do you see my eyes watering?
Yeah.
Because I'm not handling
Did you
this
see
well.
mine for a second?
Yeah, that's why I said, oh shit, you saw that too? Okay. Cool. He made no noise as he moved, seeming to glide as he hovered closer to my head. His long, thin arms reached down to me as I moaned through my paralyzed lips. I could not scream, even though I very much wanted to. His fingers reaching through the darkness down to my face. Two pointed fingers touched against my eyelids, pushing them closed. I remember his fingertips feeling cool, but not cold. Even though the ends of his fingertip looked sharp, his touch was gentle. Do not struggle, little one. Sleep, he said. His voice was so deep I could feel it in my chest when he spoke. I did as instructed, convincing myself that indeed it was a dream. Even if it wasn't, the back of my eyelids was more reassuring than looking into those piercing red eyes and into his vacant mask of a face. I closed my eyes, wanting it to be a dream, willing it to be a dream. I woke up the next morning, thankfully able to move, walk, and talk.
Blessed.
Small victories.
Yeah.
I explained what I saw to my parents, who both agreed that it was a dream. My mom tried floating the idea that something from Shrek 2 scared me, but neither my dad or I bought it. For confirmation, Dad asked that I draw a picture of what I saw for them. As I was drawing, I ran out of black crayon and had to finish his legs with the next darkest color in my crayon box. Hey there, Mr. Brownstick Legs, my dad said as I handed him the drawing. You leave my daughter alone now. You hear? This is how my demon ended up with his name.
Thanks, Dad.
Giving him a silly name helped take some of the edge off of going to bed the following night. My dad even did a sweep of the room, calling out for him. Here, Mr. Brownsteg Licks. What the fuck did I just say? Brownsteg Licks.
Do not cut that out.
I never thought I was dyslexic till now. Here, Mr. Brownstick Legs, he said, whistling as if he were calling a dog. It made me giggle, and the whole episode felt more funny than scary. But once they tucked me in and turned off the light, I felt dread creeping back in. Darkness hits harder when you expect to find something lurking in the shadows. I don't know how long I searched, but I eventually did fall asleep. In the weeks following, I searched for Mr. Brownstick Legs every night as I fell asleep. Even when I went to sleepovers, I would do a cursory check in case he tagged along to a friend's house. As time passed, my searches became less frequent. It was a couple months later, the night before my first day of 5th grade, when I woke up to Mr. Brownstick Legs straddled over my bed, his empty plate of a face inches from my own. A scream stuck in my throat, coming out sounding like a gush of air releasing from a pool float. Hush, child, he said. His voice was deep, echoless. I didn't know how he spoke without a mouth, but I heard him nonetheless. I saw that he held a piece of paper in his thin fingers, crumpled on the edges and torn. He held it up to show me. On the page was a pink blob with blue dots for eyes and a droll red smile and stick lines for legs and arms. It was lying on a blue rectangle. I found the picture you drew of me, so I drew a picture of you. He said, do you like it? So he basically drew her laying in bed.
Yeah, I knew that immediately before you even said that.
I didn't. I tried nodding, but I couldn't move. I tried answering, but all that came out was the same dry croaking sound. Will you draw another one for me? I so liked the first one you gave me. Pants. I look good in pants.
Ew, what a creep.
Yes. Again, I was unable to respond or move to give him an answer. He must have been able to read my intent, because he tucked the picture under my pillow before closing my eyes again. When I woke up in the morning, I bolted upright and tossed my pillow off the bed. My heart leapt into my throat when I found the picture. It wasn't a dream. He was real. I went to my I wonder if she drew it in her sleep, just out of, just an idea.
That's a theory.
Just an idea. I went to my desk and began drawing a picture for him, starting with his face and eyes, trying to capture as much detail as I could remember. I had forgotten all about the first day of school until my mom opened the door and found me still in my pajamas. Lexi, she yelled, startling me as I was coloring his eyes. Your bus will be here in less than an hour. Get dressed now. I tucked my picture into my school backpack and got dressed. I finished my drawing at recess that day, using my brand new Crayola 64 pack that I got with my backpack and school supplies.
Ooh, girl.
Yeah, fancy. I bet it had a sharpener on the back.
Yes, ma'am, it did.
I gave him blue pants this time, figuring he'd like to see himself in some jeans. I wrote his name, Mr. Brownstick Legs, at the bottom of the picture and drew a smiley face next to it,
Girl,
hoping he'd like his nickname.
Y'all are not friends.
Straddle in the bed? Hell no.
That guy's a freak.
Standing in the corner unfolding like origami? Hell no.
Mm-mm.
You ain't getting no fucking drawing from me.
No, period.
Drop mic. I flipped the paper over to write him a message on the back. I wanted to ask him some questions, but didn't want to anger him since he visited me when I was at my most vulnerable. I wrote out my letter on a separate piece of paper before copying over to the back of this picture. Dear Mr. Brownstick Legs. That's your name. My name is Lexi. I am in 5th grade. What is your name? How old are you? Do you go to school? Why do you visit my bedroom? Why can't I move when you visit? You look scary, but you also seem nice. I hope we can be friends. Love, Lexi.
Oh, what a sweet baby angel.
P.S. I hope you like your blue pants. That is very nice. Because I'd be like, get the out of my room. Who the are you?
Yeah,
what do you want from me?
Girl, bye.
She's sweet.
She is.
She got a better heart than I do.
She needs to toughen up a little bit. Lexi.
Yeah, we don't want those friends. Not that friend.
Read the room, girl.
Yeah, well, I'm like, I chose way worse friends. So you know what, Mr. Brownstick Legs? Maybe. Okay. I added another smiley face at the end of the letter, my final emphasis on wanting to be friends. I considered closing with sincerely, but I figured love was a better, friendlier choice. I tucked the picture under my pillow that night, now anxious to see him rather than filled with dread of his reappearance. But like last time, he did not return the next day or the day after. The day stretched into weeks, and every morning I found the picture still tucked under my pillow. It wasn't until Thanksgiving break that I saw him again. My eyes opened at this as the morning sun poked through the blinds of my bedroom. His body didn't look any different in the light. In fact, his black skin seemed darker, absorbing the sun's rays without giving anything back. His eyes seemed wider than before. If he had a mouth, I would have figured he was smiling, and his slender fingers was the picture I drew for him. Hello, Lexi, he said. Thank you for the picture. I do look good in blue pants. I wanted to smile, but, well, sleep paralysis. He flipped the picture over to the side with my letter. I will answer your questions the best I can. I do not have a name, not one you could ever pronounce, but I am happy for you to call me Mr. Brownstick Legs. As for my age, I exist outside of the construct of time. Therefore, I am ageless. I do not go to school, nor do I know what school is. Why do I visit you? I visit to feed on the energy of your soul.
That just took the energy out of my soul.
My breath quickened as a mute groan exited my teeth. I wanted to run, wanted to get away from him, but I was pinned down, unable to move. He sensed my uneasiness and tried to calm me by patting my forehead. Let me explain. Have you been to the ocean? It appears vast, almost limitless, as you stare out into the blue water, with no visible land on the other side. In my mind, I was standing on a beach. I felt the salty ocean breeze against my face as I looked out over the massive body of water. The waves crashed at my feet. I felt the rush of water out over them, followed by the trickle of sand and pebbles as the water drew back. Your soul is like an ocean, child. Vast, limitless, undefinable, by words to your understanding. I take only a tiny sip, a single glass of warm water from a vast ocean. I am not one who could consume an entire ocean.
Boy, keep your mouth to yourself.
Well, he didn't have a mouth, so.
I hate it here.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. Ew, don't look at me like that. You made me look scared.
What?
You scared me. Ugh. Dark clouds formed over the water as I stared at the white-capped waves. The clouds unleashed a heavy downpour, turning the horizon gray as rain fell from the sky over the ocean. Just as the rain falls over the ocean, your soul can replenish itself by more than I could ever consume, not even in thousands of your years. Does that make you feel better?
No, not even a little bit.
On the beach in my mind's vision, I nodded. In my bedroom, he nodded back at me. Good. As for your last question, why you cannot move? We are meeting at a point outside of your time, where your world and mine touch. Your physical body cannot move here, but if you persist, you can learn to speak to me with your mind, and I will answer your questions in exchange for your drawings. You can draw pictures of whatever you would like. I want to know more of your world. In my mind, I nodded again. This knowledge is a gift, so we can understand one another more. I am not one who will hurt you. He pressed his fingertips to my eyelids again, closing them. In my mind's eye, I was still on the beach, but the sun was setting and no stars were visible through the rain. I drifted back to sleep to the sound of falling rain. The next morning, I asked my parents for a sketchbook and colored pencils. They tried to hold me off until Christmas, but since I spent most of my afternoons and weekends drawing pictures up in my room, Dad let me open one of my gifts early, a Strathmore sketchbook with 100 pages and a 50-pack of Crayola colored pencils. I started by drawing the rest of my family, Mom, Dad, my little brother, our cat, and even though he had died, our dog. Next, I drew our house, then our car, then my school. I kept drawing anything I could think of, trees, birds, insects, until my sketchbook was full. I used my allowance to purchase more books so I could keep drawing. I honed my craft, redoing my earlier drawings in greater detail. My thoughts considered his wording. I am not one who could consume an entire ocean. I wanted to ask him if there were those who could, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to really know that. Mr. Brownstick Legs didn't return until my freshman year of high school. To him, it wasn't like any time had passed. I read up on lucid dreaming in the time between visits so that when he returned, I would be better capable of talking to him.
Hello.
Yeah, this is a lot for you. He held my books in his hands, flipping through my drawings, doting over the increased refinement of my drawing skills. I had filled dozens of sketch pads and upgraded from Crayola to Prismacolor Premier pencils on my drawings. His biggest surprise was when, after he complimented my drawings, I spoke to him. "Thank you," I said, seeing the words in my mind as I spoke them aloud. If he had a surprised expression, his eyes showed it. You have been very busy, child," he said. "Do you have any questions you would like to ask?" I hesitated, but finally formed the words in my mind. "Are there creatures who can consume an entire ocean?" He didn't respond right away, which made me think I had not asked properly. As I asked him a second time, he put a finger to my lips as if to shush me. "There are those who can. They are known as the Dark Ones. They are capable of consuming entire souls, emptying them out, leaving them dry and barren. You should not fear them, but you should not provoke them either."
Seems a little sus, Mr. Brownstick Man.
Yeah, but he seems very friendly. He seems like he doesn't want to really hurt her. He just is trying to sustain himself. That's the vibes I'm getting. He's just trying to sustain and not let the person who can completely empty her.
I don't like it.
I still am not comfortable, but he seems decent. His eyes curved downward as if concerned or afraid. "What do they look like?" I asked. In my mind, my visions were filled with images of great, terrible creatures. Spiders taller than the Empire State Building on thin, spindly legs of shadow and smoke. Tentacled monsters in the sea lofting blue whales like they were toys, ripping them to shreds, and their curved, chitinous, I don't know what that means, beaks. Great, ghastly, flying creatures that knocked over orchards and forests with the beat of their leathery wings. "I showed you only because you ask," Mr. Brownsticklegs said, "but it is what is best that we do not talk about them. Just let them be." I nodded in my mind. He leaned forward and pressed his plate-like face to my head as if to kiss me on the forehead, which was odd since he didn't have a mouth. Then, as usual, he closed my eyes and I drifted back to sleep. My life took a downturn during the latter years of high school. My dad lost his job, and when the search for a new one dragged on, he turned to drinking to cope with his failure. He wasn't abusive, but he wasn't fun to be around either. In the months following, my parents would hush their arguing when I entered the room, greeting me with smiles as if nothing were wrong. That lasted until the day I came home from school to find them fighting over a foreclosure notice from the bank. We moved out over a weekend from our home in the suburbs to an apartment on the other side of town. I internalized my feelings during that time. I withdrew from my friends and school activities besides the art club, the only thing that I could still afford. I saw my friends driving to school and hanging out while I rode the bus, too poor and too far out of the way to join in. My taste began to change as well. Out was the bubblegum pop of Katy Perry, Kesha, and Taylor Swift. Instead, I listened to Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with Sirens, and Bring the Horizon.
Yeah, girl, that's the good stuff.
Or Bring Me the Horizon. Yeah, that's the shit that's a good vibe though. That's just aging, girl. My clothes and my makeup became darker, more black t-shirts and skirts with black eyeliner and black fingernail polish. Mom called it a goth phase. Not that she understood.
It was never a phase, Mom.
It's still not a phase, girl. We're in it.
Yeah, hello.
Okay, my drawings became darker too. I moved from colored pencils to charcoal, drawing skulls and gothic-looking cemeteries as my passion for drawing animals and flowers waned. I also drew the dark ones in great detail. Exactly how I remembered them in my mind. Brownsticklegs visited me again a month after we moved into the apartment. He looked more at home in my room of black light posters and death metal bands than he did in my previous room. His eyes were dim, not the vibrant red that they were before. He stared at me as I lay in bed, unable to move. He moved inches from my face, and I heard his words in my mind. "Your soul tastes different now."
Told you.
He didn't speak of my drawings. I worried that he might, especially since I had been drawing the dark ones. Not only drawing them, but thinking about them and what type of damage they could do if they were to wait. He seemed sad for me, although reading his expression was difficult with no face. He patted my forehead like before, but didn't close my eyes before leaving as he used to. My life continued its spiraling path like a bottle racket with a broken stick. My parents didn't talk outside of short conversations about which bills to pay and which ones to ignore. Each night, Dad disappeared into a bottle while Mom disappeared online to chat with a male Facebook friend she knew from high school. The thing about rock bottom is that it's often a disguise for a trapdoor that drops you to an even lower depth than you thought imaginable. The first bottom came when my father died. Drove off the road into a gravel pit late at night with an empty bottle of bourbon in the passenger seat. I cried, but it felt hollow. I felt hollow. Even when Mom tried to hold me, I felt nothing inside. Not sadness, not guilt, not anything. I disappeared into my sketchbooks, drawing even darker, more disturbing images. Death, dismemberment, vividly accurate vivisections of the cute animals I used to enjoy drawing. That's a little crazy for me, but
Lexi, go to therapy.
Yeah, so that's called a serial killer. My friends no longer talked to me, which was fine because I didn't want to talk to them anymore either. I've found people to hang out with, not friends, but people who could get me access to moments of chemical-induced euphoria to forget about that life for a while. Just like that, the trapdoor opened, dropping me into a new rock bottom of addiction. One thing, I had that in common with my dad, but instead of falling into a bottle, I fell into a needle. I stole intense. I stole money from my mom's purse to feed my habits. Not that she noticed. She was busy with her old Facebook friend who had moved from online acquaintance to nightly sleepover companion. When the time came to begin my senior year, I didn't bother going back. I kept drawing, filling entire sketchbooks with dark images that reflected my bleak outlook on life. The Dark Ones were prevalent subjects during this period of my life. I drew them feasting on humanity, raking flesh from bone in their jagged teeth behind lips of smoke. I came home one night to find my mom and her new male friend in the middle of a fight. It was different from her fights with Dad, more violent, more physical. When he raised his hand at me for trying to intervene, I decided it was time to bolt. I left home, hitching rides with anyone with a set of wheels I could manage to put up with for short periods of time. My preference leaned towards those with access to the chemical release I craved. The more I could numb, the more I could escape. I found certain drug combinations had similar effects to sleep paralysis, where my mind's ability to control my body's action became severed.
The fuck are you looking at?
Oh, I was just making sure we were still recording.
Oh.
What if I just stop? I won't do that to you. I will one day, but not right now. In those moments of numbed paralysis, I'd see Mr. Brownstick Legs watching from afar as I dulled the pain. I saw what I perceived as the Dark Ones too, but they weren't hiding in the shadows like Mr. Brownstick Legs did. They were the shadows.
This is getting real deep.
Yeah, I know. I called out for them as well. For in those moments, I wanted nothing more than to be hollowed out and empty. A void so dark, no pain could ever penetrate it. When they didn't answer, I called out to Mr. Brownstick Legs, but he would vanish every time. Perhaps it was all just a drug-fueled hallucination. Overdosing was never my intention. I was pushing too much, trying to find the edge of the void after feeling so low, so very low, searching for that something extra. I took it too far, giving myself a near-lethal dose. At one moment, I was lying next to strangers on a stained mattress in an abandoned warehouse. Then came the initial rush of euphoric bliss, and then nothing. Whoever I was traveling with at the time dumped me on the curb in front of the ER, making me someone else's problem. That was my rock bottom moment, although at the time, it felt more like free fall. I spent 3 weeks in a coma. I was aware of my surroundings and could hear the doctors and nurses as they checked my vitals and tended to my cleanliness and upkeep, but I couldn't move or speak. At the end of my 3rd week in the ICU on an incubator, I looked up to find Mr. Brownstick Legs hovering over me, his round red eyes peering through the darkness. "What have you done to yourself, child?" His voice spoke inside my mind. In my mind, I was beside him standing in the middle of a vast salt flat desert. The ground was cracked and dry in a hexagonal pattern that stretched in all directions. "This is your soul now. There's nothing left to drink." I heard the beep of my heart rate monitor back in the hospital room speed up as fear entered my mind. I called out to the Dark Ones. I said, "I asked for them to come. They emptied me out. Emptied my soul. No, my child, you did this. You've not replenished. You have only consumed. And now, nothing remains." I dropped to my knees in the middle of the salt as I felt a rumbling deep inside the hollow pit of my stomach. I leaned forward onto my arms, but they were no longer my arms. They were pitch black and empty. I could feel them, but when I looked at them, they were empty voids of smoke and shadow. I stood up on my legs, but they too were no longer my legs. The darkness swirled up my torso and down my arms. The emptiness inside me consumed my entire body until just my head remained. What's happening to me? I heard a snap as my arms and legs split, forming 8 black, spindly, thin legs. I collapsed onto them, unable to support myself. Mr. Brownstick Legs glided down in front of my face, his face inches from my own. "As I told you, child, only the Dark Ones have the ability to consume an entire ocean of a soul. That is your fate. That is what you will become." Back in the room, my heart rate monitor crashed to a flat line. I felt the cold darkness swirl up my neck to my head as the void consumed me. I was aware of the nurses and doctors huddled around my body, prepping the crash cart, but all I felt was the cold consuming and what was left of me. "Help me," I uttered. "Please." My physical body jolted from electric paddles, but I felt nothing, only the cold darkness. A needle injected into my IV line as they recharged for another burst of electricity. Still, I felt nothing, only cold, only darkness, only the vast emptiness of the void. Mr. Brownstick Legs tilted his head as he stared through his unblinking red eyes. He leaned forward, pressing his plate-like face to my forehead. I felt a vibration against my skin, followed by the tingling sensation of heat returning. The darkness receded back down my arms and legs. As he pulled back, the red in his eyes had diminished. A gift for the girl who gave me pants.
Okay.
A tear formed in my eye. It rolled down my cheek and fell onto the parched landscape below. Before I could say anything, an electric jolt coursed through my body, pulling me away from the salt flat expanse and back to my hospital room. The sinus rhythm of my... Sinus or sinus?
Yeah, sinus.
The sinus rhythm of my heart rate monitor returned to normal. I felt the cool gel of the defibrillator paddles against my chest. I remember squeezing the hand of one of the attending nurses who smiled down at me. "Look who's awake." I cried, but it was different than before. I felt the pain I had long been avoiding, but I felt something else as well. I felt grateful, and I felt a sense of hope I hadn't known in a long time. It was a long road back from the darkness, but the thing about a road to recovery is that, like a road, it leads to a destination. After years of listless drifting towards the void, Having a destination was an important first step in finding self-love. I reconnected with my mother, who was struggling with her own form of darkness. We leaned on one another, talking and going to therapy as we worked through these issues that drove us apart. Look, she listened to your input.
Good job, Lexi.
After my release from the hospital, I moved back home with her Facebook friend long gone. I got my GED and used my many sketchbooks as a portfolio to get an apprenticeship at a tattoo parlor. I've been clean for 4 years now, and it feels good to smile again. Granted, I still prefer Pierce the Veil to anything from Katy Perry's catalog, and my tattoos and jewelry have more skulls than fluffy bunnies, but that's all on the surface. I no longer crave the darkness to consume me. I often think about my vision of Mr. Brownstick Legs on the salt flats that night in the hospital. I had not seen him since that night, and I often wonder about the state of my soul since that day. Has it replenished, or is it still dried up like a barren wasteland that he took me to that night? Last night, around 3 a.m, I finally got my answer. I woke up with a heaviness on my chest, arms, and legs. At first, I felt the grips of fear grabbing hold, much like the first time I experienced it. But then in the dark corner of my room, I saw glowing red eyes staring back at me from the shadows. In spite of my sleep paralysis, I couldn't help but smile when I heard his voice call out to me, "Child, your soul tastes so much better now."
I don't like that. That part makes me so uncomfy.
But he was good.
He was. He did end up being a good guy.
So what was your reoccurring dream with him? Because that's still got me. That's all I can think about as I'm reading this.
Yeah, I think that we're going to have to talk about that another time. Yeah, because it's very detailed.
But it's like the same thing? Like man things?
It's very, very similar.
I do not like that.
Because I haven't thought about it in a really, really long time. It's been a really long time since I've had that dream.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you were describing that to me, my body had a reaction.
You made my eyes water.
Yeah.
Like your reaction gave me a reaction.
Yeah, it was really freaky.
Okay, we'll save it.
So we'll have to talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so sleep paralysis is a fascinating intersection of science and culture, bridging the gap between the natural and the supernatural. To finish out this episode, if you are still here and enjoyed everything today, leave a bed emoji. Also, wherever you have found us, leave a review, like, comment, subscribe, all the good things so more people can find us. We have accounts set up on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Go give us a follow. Our username for the most part on all of our accounts is Sisters of the Strange Podcast. If you can't locate it, we will have all the account information in the show notes. If you have any personal stories you'd like to share or have read, email them to sistersofthestrangepodcast@gmail.com. I will have that in the show notes as well. Until next time, sleep well and may your dreams be peaceful.
Sweet dreams. I won't be having those tonight.
Nope. Good thing it's midnight and I'm having to drive home.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.